The painting The Rich Man and the Poor Lazarus is by Hendrick ter Brugghen. Ter Brugghen is one of the most important Utrecht Caravaggesque painters, and so it's a very important painting for our collection. There was an addition added to the painting of 30 centimeters, but we do not know when this happened. It might have been in the 17th or 18th century, so the Centraal Museum bought the painting with the addition. The addition was made because people felt that the figures were too narrow on the plane, and it is understandable because it is true. But this was done on purpose. The Brugghen wanted his figures to be very narrow in the frame. So it was obvious to me that this addition had to be removed. But you also have the history of the painting and the history of the restoration of the painting. So the restorer came up with this solution to bow it over to the back, and everybody was fine with that.
When we first conceived of this project, the goal was to return the painting to its original size. But in doing so, it became apparent that the painting could use some restoration. As we looked at the painting, we realized there was a quite discolored varnish, there were quite discolored retouches, and it would be best to take them off and redo the entire restoration. Initially, we had to make the painting smaller. So that was the first thing, because that's kind of a rough aspect of the restoration. We didn't want to do any aesthetic restoration or cleaning or varnishing before. We wanted to do that first. After that was finished and the painting was in its smaller format, we could proceed with the normal restoration. The first step of the procedure was to order a new stretcher to replace the old, larger stretcher. They made a special heavy-duty stretcher that I could then add a small rounded piece to the top of. By having the rounded piece at the top edge, we could roll the painting over the top edge without damaging it. We decided to keep the addition by folding it over to the back in order to preserve it as part of the historical documentation of the painting. Here we're taking off the backing boards that are normal protection for most canvas paintings. They keep the back of the painting clean and they buffer against air change. We have to unfold the edges of the painting to take the old stretcher out. You can see the wax lining is folded over to the back of the stretcher. It's a very narrow stretcher. And now we're going to clean the back with the vacuum cleaner to remove dust and dirt that's accumulated over time. The new stretcher is a specially designed stretcher which is meant to add stability to the wood by the addition of this aluminum strip in the front. We wanted a wooden stretcher rather than a purely aluminum stretcher because we want to be able to tack to it easily and be able to manipulate the top of the painting. In this case, we had to add a strip lining to the top edge to house the rod, a metal rod. The purpose of the metal rod is to be able to pull down with string against this piece of aluminum that's added into the back of the stretcher, and this will fasten the top edge of the painting. We are heating the wax lining to soften it and give some flexibility to the lining canvas so we can pull it around the top without cracking or breaking. Here we're stringing the wire between the aluminum bar and the stainless steel rod to pull tension onto the painting. This was a challenge to get the tension in the painting without adding too much tension. Now that the painting's been reconfigured to this new size, we've transported it to the atelier. And here we will clean the painting to remove the old varnish and old restorations and then restore the painting anew. Generally speaking, we start with some tests along the edge to see how the varnish is going to react to various solvent mixtures or solvents. Once we find a cleaning solution that we like, we just proceed to take the varnish off. These solvents will dissolve the varnish and take off the retouchings without harming the painting. It's a lot of work. It's a big painting. It takes time. We have to proceed slowly. With each color, each change of color, we have to see and make sure we're not harming the painting. We might have to adjust the solvents, we might have to adjust the solvent mixture to proceed in a proper way. We didn't make any real new discoveries in cleaning. We could see already that there was a lot of abrasion and there were certain damages here and there, and we've uncovered those damages. We had no big surprises in the cleaning of this painting. Well, one of the major reasons for doing the aesthetic restoration of the painting was that in previous restorations there was a lot of abrasion left unattended to. The main problem was that there were areas of abrasion that had never been retouched, never been attended to by retouching, and these needed some attention. There were also some open cracks in the painting. These are drying cracks. And when these cracks occur, the paint below, if it's a different color, will show up quite strongly. When the color below is showing up too strongly, it can shift the appearance of the surface. So these have to be attended to also. So what we do is we retouch to match the discoloration of the surface. We don't retouch to match what would have perhaps been the original color. We can't see that anymore. By retouching to match the discoloration of the surface, we bring back a kind of unity to the surface, which in turn brings a unity to the form and allows the perspective to show again. In retouching, we use a synthetic paint that's easily removed without any danger to the original paint. As far as matching colors, as it's done visually, it's all a trick. How can we match best the color? We have to take away all the small little damages around a big damage first before we can repaint the big damage. But once we're doing that, we're just tricking the eye. However we can make it disappear, we make it disappear. Here in these little open cracks, which are called traction cracks, where the paint has split of the top layer, we see the ground below. And that ground we just want to block out so that the continuity of the cloth can be read. When you look at the painting, you don't want to see anything that stops your eye and makes you ask the question, oh, what's this? It's a distraction. If it was something put by the artist, of course you want that, then it's a curiosity, but not something that's just a damage. The retouching in this painting was very important to re-establish the perspective in the painting. It's a very frontal painting in the sense that there's not a lot of depth, but there is depth that allows you to see the realism of the painting. So the retouching along the foreground, on the ground, around the feet was very important to allow you to step into the painting and see that there's a background behind all those feet. Same thing with the fish on the plate and the dishes. These areas were very abraded and had not been attended to. By attending to them, we get the perspective, the trompe-l'oeil effect back of the table. It's all about readability of the painting. So we can go from one area to the next. We can go through the painting as if we're standing in the painting, not just viewers from the outside. We're putting the varnish on with a technique we learned at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. We just start at the top and work our way to the bottom. As we're working down, I'm pulling the varnish down into the painting and then I'm brushing it back up to even it. Aneta's watching. Since this isn't the first varnish, it's easy to leave holidays. She has to watch and see where I've come from and where I'm going to help me know if I've spread the varnish evenly, if I've left spaces, and where to start the new line. We're evenly applying the varnish in this method, as evenly as possible. As we varnish the painting, we're saturating the colors, we're saturating and sealing our retouchings. We're bringing everything together. The painting is now back to its original format. It's been restored, and it should be able to hang in the museum and be enjoyed for quite some time. I'm very happy with the result. It was a long time coming to bring the painting back to its original format, and I think the restoration has improved the visual effect of the painting. It's enhanced all the contrasts and colors. It's created a new visual appreciation for the perspective and for the depth of the painting.
When I first saw the painting in its new size, I was very happy because the edit piece was always very disturbing for me. You know, you look at a great painting and then immediately I always thought when I saw it, oh yes, but we have the addition. Now that the painting is completely restored, you know, the addition is gone, it is cleaned, all the color, this varnish, etc. are all gone now, so we have the painting now in its original glory, if you may say so. Of course there are damages in the painting, but I think the restorer did a great work and it's a masterpiece.
When the restoration is complete, I want to be able to look at the painting and, in a sense, not remember what I've done, because I want to enjoy the painting for what the artist did.